Okay, today we're going to do things a little bit differently and we're going to do a vlog.
This time I was a guest at GrandCon, but this isn't just a regular vlog, this is also a video on why I prefer smaller cons. But before we get into all of that, I needed to get tested for COVID. I did one before I left, and I did one at the hotel room. Then I went off to the booth to get set up.
If you ever want to know what it's like behind the scenes of an exhibit center, this is kind of what it looks like. It's got like a bunch of doors, a lot of chairs, and here we are stepping into the actual hall.
GrandCon is a convention that takes place during Labor Day weekend in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They recently had to push back 2 of their dates due to COVID, so this is their first year back.
I am here on a Thursday to prepare for GrandCon. We're setting up a booth, and right now I'm just gonna go grab some lunch before we set up. So I'm gonna tell you some reasons why I like small conventions so much, and that's because smaller conventions, you get a lot of space like this. Another great thing about GrandCon is that it is in this very strange town. So Grand Rapids in general, just like a very weird town. So the first thing is that we're staying at this hotel called the Amway Hotel, and Amway actually put in like a lot of money into this town. That's how they got like a hotel named after them, and it's just like weird. People who live here, they probably like don't notice how weird it is, but I notice how weird it is because I'm not from here. And for those of you who don't know, Amway is basically a multi-level marketing thing. If you're wondering why I'm staying at that hotel, it's because I'm a guest and that's how we got like the hotel room there.
I spoke with some folks who live here and they kind of compare Amway to an Apple or a Google in Silicon Valley, which I'm still just like, what?
As you can tell, this is a very, very fancy hotel.
Anyway, since it was a Thursday, I quickly grabbed a coffee at Big B before checking out a local store. For those of you who don't know, Big B is kind of like a Dunkin' Donuts, but the coffee is much, much better. I gotta say, the coffee culture here is kind of amazing. It reminds me of Toronto. There are some other coffee shops like Bad Cap, but for today, I just had to grab a quick Big B coffee. Walking around the area, I stopped by Vault of Midnight. It's a very colorful comic book and game store with a huge selection. They have a bunch of indie comics and games too, which I really appreciate because they stock some of my games and my friends' games. I found out later that there are 3 Vaults of Midnight. The other 2 are located in Ann Arbor and Detroit. If you're ever in the area, definitely check it out. It has a great selection. Grand Rapids seems very queer-friendly, which feels like a contradiction to its history and the big names that are located here. All of this is just to say that I'm now convinced that Grand Rapids is situated in some kind of pocket dimension, which reminds me of the next weird thing that they have here, Superman ice cream, or Super Kid as it's known in Canada if you've ever been to a Laura Secord chocolates. I grew up getting this flavor as a kid in Ontario, so I had to get this flavor here. It kind of reminds me of that scene in Hook where the kids have a food fight. I ended the day with dinner at Fulton Street Pub and Grill with Adam Vass of World Champ Game Co. We both snagged vegan burgers, which were very, very good. And that was the end of day 1. Day 2 was the start of the convention, but first I need to tell you about the spiders here. If you don't like spiders, please fast forward 10 seconds from now. This town is full of spiders. I have this theory that the humans in this town live regularly, but the spiders are stuck in a time loop. Okay, now back to the convention. The space is massive and it's a bit of a labyrinth. There are skyways that lead to hotels and other various places. My booth is already ready from the previous day, so I didn't really have to do much work for it. This time around, I'm carrying a few of my friends' games, so we have a bit more product to work with. Unfortunately, I forgot the banners for the booth, but luckily we have a pretty good spot by the door.
We got a whole section for Friends of Banana. We're just waiting for the medals and the certificate. Gonna go run some games. Don't know where I'm going. Gonna go figure that out right now. Never mind, found my table. It is right here.
On this day, I demoed Zhangshi Blend the Banquet Hall by Sun and I, and later on I demoed Battle of the Boy Bands by Yeonsu Kim and Vicky Ho. Another thing I really like about smaller conventions is that they're lower intensity. You're not rushing from one event to another that's halfway across the convention hall, you're not screaming over the sound of a billion people while running your game. You can actually get meetings in. In this case, after running my games for the day and managing the booth, I met up with my co-designer Jason Slingerland and our friend Kelly. For day 2, I was starting to get used to the space, so I decided to sneak off a little bit.
So I have managed to escape the convention to go to the Fish Ladder Park, which I will show you all in a bit. It is just beyond this bridge.
On the way over, I spotted a huge bird. I swear it looks way bigger in real life than in this footage. I looked it up later and found out it's a great blue heron. Just across the bridge is the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Museum, and next to that is the DeVos Learning Center. From what I understand, Grand Rapids is where the astronaut Roger B. Chaffee is from. He unfortunately passed away in the Apollo 1 capsule, and there's a statue dedicated to him downtown, but this isn't that statue. I think this one's really cool still, though. I also saw a giant red button. As I got closer to the fish ladder, there were a bunch of people standing very, very still in the water, and I thought they were statues, but it turns out they were real people, and they were just fishing. Another great thing about small conventions is that you actually get the time to visit the town that you're at, so you're not stressed over time. Even though I had a lot of events going on that weekend, I still had time to check out the area. Okay, so the real reason why I wanted to stop by the fish ladder was because there's a bronze plaque here that commemorates an event from a parallel universe. The project is called Chimeric Sphere, and it's an art project created by Eames Demetrios. You can find these plaques all over Grand Rapids, but Demetrios also spread a bunch of them across the world. This specific one is called Forest Rest. I'll drop a link in the description below so you can read more about it.
If you're looking for this specific plaque, it's about maybe not even a 5-minute walk away from the park. It's pretty close. It's on the right side of the bank. I saw everything I wanted to see, which was awesome. Saw some people fishing, saw some fish, and saw the plaque that I actually came there to go see. So now I'm heading back to GrandCon to complete a playtest of Revenants. I'm hoping that this is the back entrance of where I should be at. This place is kind of confusing. I think I can go through here. Can I go through here?
Spoiler, I could go through there. I ended up getting to my playtest on time and ran Revenants, The Endless Loop Beneath the City. It's a game by Senfil Limini. Players are revenants who have been brought back to the city that they lived in to solve their own murders and stop a shattering event. Each night they have to relive the same time loop over and over again until they can figure things out. There are 2 settings for the game, 1910s Paris and 1920s New York. It also uses a subway or metro map to keep track of where you are. I ran 2 more games of Battle of the Boy Bands before we headed to dinner at Atto Sushi with Brian Lentz, the organizer and our wonderful host. Before we leave, I wanted to have a drink at the very fancy bar downstairs at the hotel lobby, so I met up with my friend and co-designer Austin Taylor. Turns out each cookie was $1, and I was expecting my mocktail to be like $16, but because it was non-alcoholic, that was only $6. So yay! I had a great time at this bar. So now back to the present day, which is actually 2 days before I post this video, so it's actually still the past. Anyway, I had a great time at GrandCon. It was a little bit smaller than the prior GrandCons before the pandemic. So it was still like really nice to just see some people that were like local to the area. I didn't get to see a lot of the designers that I usually would have, but I did get to see John and JB Howell and run a bunch of my games. So I got to play test a lot of my games, got a lot of work done that way. And I also got to see the town. Like, it was a really cute town. I had a great time. GrandCon was about like a week ago, and I quarantined for, I would say like the first 5 days when I got back, just to make sure that I was okay. So on the 3rd day I did a COVID test, and on the 5th day I also did a COVID test. Both came out negative, but I'm just gonna keep testing just in case. I think the one thing that I really liked about GrandCon is that there was so much open space, like not just in the convention space area, but also just like going out, like when you're going out to dinner or something like that, there is like the option of eating outside. Like, it was a nice time. The food was awesome. Like, the food was a lot better than I expected. I'm so used to like GenCon food. I know that like a lot of people are going to comment and say this, but like the food was a lot better at Grand Rapids versus Indianapolis. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Also, I know that like I talked a lot about like how weird the town is, and I'm pretty sure that it is stuck in like another dimension. Like, I'm pretty sure at this point. I've talked to a bunch of people about this, locals, and I am like 100% sure that this space does not actually exist in our plane of reality. So thanks so much for watching my vlog. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help my channel, and I will see you all next time. Bye!